from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to a World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Welcome to That's a Winner podcast. I am Ryan Jenkins, and with me, as always, is Josh Brown.
Hello, hello.
Well, Josh, we went on the road. We won the first two in San Fran, and I thought at the minimum we wanted to at least get one out of the two out of the next side, right?
Yeah, 3 out of 4. Looked good.
It looked like that was a good possibility, but they did not do that. They only ended up with the two at the beginning of that. So now the Cardinals have opened up the season. We're trailing the Brewers by 1.5 games, right? Unless they
2.5.
2.5 games. So, and they're hopefully about to lose.
Yes.
this
On the
evening.
cusp of losing tonight here. What is this? Monday, May 9th.
So let's open it up first straight away with Juan Yepez. This is not where I was going to start. I'm going to throw you for a loop in a second, but let's talk about Juan Yepez. He has been on a tear. He joined the Cardinals. I think he's now played 5 games. He's batting .500. He has for his first career home run, runs scored, walks. He got everything, all of his first out of the way. Now, his first couple hits, they were just bloop lucky doubles, right? They weren't
Not terrible swings. Went the other way, but they were pulling. I mean, they were playing him to pull, which is true to his AAA numbers.
Right. So it was luck, right? They were luck. And so, people are like, oh, he got 2 hits in his first career game. Cool. I was happy he just got out of the way, and then he could go play some baseball. Now, then he starts hitting doubles and then home runs, right? Got his first one. So the question really comes to, is this a Bo Hart situation, or is this, we're going to go 2 extremes, or an Albert Pujols situation? You know what I mean? Like, right.
Way
2
extremes on the spectrum.
Bo Hart went to the same straight out of the gates. Awesome. He was 8 months total at any time in the majors. That was it. Never saw him again. Then you had Albert, who came up and obviously has done what he's done. Now, Tommy Edman had a similar run, not as great. Whenever he first came up, he was on a tear.
Oh, yeah. Second half of 2019 when he came up.
On a tear, came out of nowhere, boom. He's now on the team, hasn't gone back, right? So where does Juan Yepez fit in?
I mean, my hope, and I do think, honestly, I do think it's not. I don't think it's a Bo Hart situation. Now, I don't think he's going to get an extra base hit every game. I think this is like 4 or 5 games in a row now,
Well,
or there might have been one game in there somewhere where he had like a couple singles and he didn't have an extra base hit.
A couple singles. He's reached base every game, and I think he's had 2 hits in every game. At least reached base twice, I think, in every game.
Yes, he has. He's hitting .474 now.
Okay.
So he did. Well, he wound up finishing 2 for 3 the other day.
Yeah.
But a walk. The first home run of the season. I think he had a single. Yeah, man, he's looked really good early on, and I think that, I mean, there's nothing you could be mad about with what he's done so far. I mean, gosh, they get .474, 500 on base percentage right now, 1.28 OPS, which is just absurd. Like, that's absurd. 3 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs in 5 games, 9 hits. 9 hits in 5 games, and he's already scored 4 runs. So he's been in the midst too. That comeback win that we had.
Right.
He was right in the middle of that. I mean, double to start off that inning.
Got pinch hit for. I assume he's slow. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not the fastest runner, but Dylan Carlson did not start that game, right? So that's another guy that kind of responded with Yepez coming up. He's taken a couple starts away from Dylan. Yepez took a start yesterday away from Tyler O'Neill. That might have been, that could have been a day off for O'Neill. I don't know if they said that for sure, but man, I don't know how you not play him right now. I think that long term, he's pretty obviously a DH.
Right.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of like an Alan Craig or a Matt Holliday. out in a corner spot. Like
you're putting him there because you need to find a spot.
You need his
for
bat,
him.
and he's going to make the plays that come to him. I think he's looked fine out there, but he doesn't have a cannon of an arm.
Right.
I don't think he's not going to be above hour. He's not going to be out there snagging balls right off the grass like Tyler O'Neill.
Who's the worst left fielder or right fielder we've had in the last 10 years? I don't know. I'm just
Matt Adams.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
He's not Matt Adams in the outfield.
Yeah.
So that's
Duncan.
Yeah, Chris Duncan has some rough games. God rest his soul. Obviously, sad story with him, but great bat though, right? I mean, he was fantastic for us in the lineup, and he's an underrated Cardinal.
Do you think that I think that Matt Holliday was bad. He had some really bad games at big points, right, in the World Series, and and other balls hitting him in places. But Matt Holliday, those are the ones that come to mind. Marcell Ozuna, who was a Gold Glover though, I do believe, but then somehow regressed when he became a Cardinal. Duncan and Matt Adams is a great one. I forgot that he even ventured out there a few times.
Colton Wong got thrown out in the outfield a couple times. You remember that?
Yeah.
Center field left. That was not good.
So did Albert Pujols, if you remember, long time ago.
He started, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, probably comparable. Probably comparable, honestly, to like Albert out there.
Okay.
You're going to make the plays to not a cannon of an arm. He's
right.
not, So I don't think that's – I mean, I really do still think our outfield as is set. Pending Tyler O'Neill hopefully bouncing back, Carlson getting it going. But I will say to those guys' credit, especially Dylan Carlson, I mean, he's really responded these last 3 days, I think. That first game that he got benched for Yepez, the next day he started, had his first home run of the season, big 3-run shot that could have, at that point, we were down,
2 runs, I think.
Yeah, we were down 2 runs when he hit that 3-run shot. So he's responding well. I hope that keeps going, but yeah, I mean, I think long-term, you're looking at Yepez as the DH. I think this time next year, you're talking about him getting most of those starts at DH. Because the great thing about him, too, that we haven't got into yet, I think all the damage he's done so far has been against right-handers.
Right.
He hits righties and lefties. Like
that makes him –
that's huge.
Yes, because obviously we're not getting enough production from the DH spot in general, but there's obviously more right-handed pitchers than there are left-handed pitchers, and I think that Albert Pujols does just a fine job as against lefties, but there's not very many of those in the league anymore. Like they're not going to bring in a bullpen guy to pitch to him.
Right.
So I think back to the Dodgers series in the playoffs last year, or the game,
the wild card,
and they called up Yepez and put him on the 40-man at that time. We kind of over that because Yepez makes the 40-man roster, but he's just kind of a placeholder. We think in the future it's going to be Gorman, it's going to be Liebertor, it's going to be these other guys, and we just kind of put him on the burner. But now he's the guy that's there. Is he going to hold up Gorman's advancement now? Because you got to think he's going to take one of those spots now too. If he's playing well, you got Dickerson issue, you have an Albert Pujols issue,
right.
You
talking this year or next year?
This year.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think so if you're thinking that if Gorman comes up, he has to get most of his at-bats at DH. I don't think he has to.
Right.
For some reason, it seems like the Cardinals think that because I see Paul DeJong in the lineup every single day. And you would say, well, duh, he has to be. Edmundo Sosa has COVID, right? Shh, don't tell anybody. That came out that Sosa's got COVID. And then the Cardinals deleted that tweet. Said, no, it's just, it's just the IL. It's like they let that one slip out.
Yeah.
Clearly, he didn't want that release. So you would say, well, DeJong has to go out there. He's the only shortstop on the roster. Well, maybe by like listed position, but he's not the only one who can play there. We've gone into this, right? Like I've talked about it. Tommy Edman could play shortstop, and I think he would be above average.
I do. I agree as well. So I was looking at his scouting reports.
Yeah. He was drafted as either a third baseman or a shortstop, one of the two.
But in the minors, he and Sosa were on the same team, obviously, right?
Right.
They were coming up at the same time. The scouting report said that Sosa and Tommy are viewed as the same level of defensive play at shortstop.
So what are you worried about? We've already seen how good Sosa could be at shortstop.
And Tommy was viewed as a better bat, more of a long-term player in the major leagues.
I would say Sosa probably has a better arm too.
Right.
Maybe a stronger arm.
Yeah.
But Edman was drafted.
But they're pretty much saying 1-1. Like they're the same defensively. You're going to play Tommy over Sosa because of his bat.
Well, and someone said to me, well, what about his arm? I'm like, what about his arm? Did we just like forget about 2019? Do you realize like most of his starts in 2019, he played a lot in the outfield that year, but a lot of his starts were at third base. Why? because Matt Carpenter was terrible.
Right.
That was like the beginning of the descent.
Like if you could play third base,
if he's
you can
got
play
the arm for
shortstop-
third base, he can
shortstop.
have the arm for shortstop.
Right.
And you know who's going to have better range than shortstop? Paul DeYoung.
Right.
And that's not a knock on Paul. If there's one thing Paul has done really well this year, he's looked good defensively.
Yeah.
I've had no problem with him defensively at shortstop. They've turned some great double plays. He's got a great arm over there. He makes, he's not diving and making the flashy plays like Tommy or Nolan can, but he's not, hurting you at
Right.
shortstop. But Tommy would be totally fine over there. So, long-winded way of answering your
Yes.
question. I don't think Gorman should be blocked because of Yepes. I think that DeYoung should be more than on the hot seat at this point, and they should really, really be considering moving Tommy to shortstop and calling up Gorman and giving
Okay.
his shot at second base.
So let's talk about this. So you make that move. Who's going down?
Or off the 40-man, I
Yes.
guess. Yeah. I haven't really looked at the 40-man.
That's the problem,
yeah,
right?
that's the tough thing.
So let me ask you this. So we've texted about this conversation, so might as well put it out
Just
to the
send
world.
DeYoung back down there, man. I joke about that. Do you think DeYoung would clear waivers if we send him down?
He has
Do you
two
think
options left.
DeYoung?
Yes.
Okay, I
DeYoung
didn't
has
know
two
that.
options
I did
left.
not know that.
Now, I think that they
Send him down AAA. Let
they-
him get it right. They
they
probably
have-
don't want to do that
they
because of
have-
the contract.
They're worried about. I think here are two things on DeYoung they're worried about his psyche, and
Right.
I think that they're worried about his trade value. If they send him down, that it obliterates it. But I think you have
I
a
don't
chance
wanna
to
hear
make
the
him.
trade.
Well, yeah, you get a chance to figure it out a little bit.
Right.
But who do you send down? And he does have options, but I don't think they're going to use them. Maybe they will, but I don't think that they will because they're the Cardinals, because it's John Mozeliak. But I don't think that they're going to. So Donovan, right? He can go down. But my question is this: really, Donovan
hasn't been crazy impressive.
but he hasn't
his,
he hasn't had many opportunities. So
No.
would you rather Gorman come up now and not really get these opportunities because someone's going to be an odd man out and just not get tons of playing time?
Well, let me ask you this. Like, you talk about not sending Donovan back. And I agree. I don't think he's gotten a fair shake at starts.
Yeah.
Right. For me, Donovan can't play shortstop, at least not from what I've seen. He didn't play there in spring training. He's not listed as that. I don't think he's played there in the minors. So there's two frustrations I would have if you're going to give Donovan more reps. How is he going to get more reps? Probably playing second base.
Second base, right?
Which means Tommy would play shortstop. So in my mind, if you're going to do that, call up your top prospect and let him get the bat, get the crack at it and
Because
get the starts.
Donovan's there because of
His
Paul,
versatility.
but Paul to be able to take out Paul Goldschmidt
Right.
and Nolan Arenado because he can play third.
He can play third. He can play second. He's had a start already at first. They gave
Right.
Goldschmidt a DH day.
So that's why
And
he's
he
there.
can play left field. He's played some outfield too. I mean, the only thing he can't play is shortstop and catcher, pretty
Right.
much. And you wouldn't put him in center.
Right.
So his versatility is nice, and he's a lefty bat, which I get, but he's not playing at all.
Right.
So for me, it's like if you sent Lars Nootbaar down, you can send Brandon Donovan back down.
But if you're sending Donovan down, does Gorman get reps though? That's what I'm worried about. I'm
Well,
worried
I
about
don't think
sending
you
guys.
call him up if he's not going to get the
Right.
starts. So if you're going to call him up, I agree with that. Ollie said that.
Yeah.
Mo has said that. I agree. Like, don't call him up if you're not going to give him the starts. But are we just going to keep letting Paul DeYoung bat 135?
All right. So here's my next
mean-
question. This is a difficult one for Cardinals people, I think, is do you just trade someone? Now, when I say someone, the options are really this: Nolan Gorman or Tommy Edman.
Your top prospect. Oh, I don't think Tommy Edman's getting
But
traded.
but you have to make a hole somewhere at
Yeah.
some point, right? So do you trade one of these guys? Because here's my worry: I would love for Gorman to come up and him to play like Yepes immediately and be ready
Kill
to go.
it, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that doesn't really happen that often.
No. Even with Yepes, I mean, it's a very small sample size, right? It's
Right.
been 5 games, but you look at a guy like Mike Trout. I mean, he struggled for a
Yeah.
month. I mean, he got sent back down.
Right. So
That's
it's
not uncommon.
It's really difficult to be really good in the majors, right? And it's really difficult to do that immediately. So I would rather see him get some chances before they make a drastic move. My biggest fear would be, all right, we ship off Paul DeYoung and Sosa and make this move. Tommy goes to short, Gorman plays second, and then he's bad. And then it's not terrible because we gave it the opportunity.
Bad how? At the plate?
At the plate.
Okay.
At the plate. I'm not worried about defensively. I mean, second base should be the easiest position to play, be next to first base, right? Those are and you're not losing a ton because you know how many guys have won the Gold Glove for the St. Louis Cardinals playing second base?
Probably not very many.
3.
I mean, Wong, Edmund. Who
Oh,
else am I missing?
Yeah, there's 3.
Those are the only ones. Yeah.
There's 3.
Okay.
There's one you're missing, but there's 3 in the history of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Who's
So
the other one? Tommy Herr, an old guy?
No,
Older guy?
no. But I'll get you in a second. But you got to think that is. We're talking about we can't sacrifice great defense. We
trotted Johnny Peralta out there for 2 years when he was way over the hill.
But the other part
and
of it is
made the playoffs because of his bat.
We've never won a World Series with a second baseman winning the Gold Glove.
No,
that gives you a little bit more of who
the
other one could be.
Think post Pujols teams that we've had, the best ones. 2013 World Series, 14, 15 great playoff teams. Who's playing second base? Matt Carpenter. Below average, and look, that's not a knock on Matt. I love Matt. He was incredible those 3 or 4 seasons. But you go look at his numbers, he was below average at second base. I don't think about that at all. I don't remember him being below. I remember him making plays. I remember him making all-star teams. I remember him breaking the doubles record of Stan Musial because his bat was good. Like, you can't tell me that Nolan Gorman's going to be worse than Matt Carpenter defensively.
And you can't tell me that Gorman is going to bat under 134. I don't think it'll happen.
And that's why I say
I don't think it'll happen.
So you say, well, what about his psyche? Look, I think it's worth giving him a shot now. I mean, like, seriously, like another week maybe or 2 of Paul. And if
but you have to make a corresponding move. It's what I mean, that's the hardest part. There has to be some connection. That
the move that probably makes the most sense if you're not wanting to boot anyone off the 40-man is sending Donovan back down. I mean, that's probably the one that makes the most sense. But then on the other end of that, Sosa's on the COVID IL. So if you want him back later as your backup shortstop, or he can play second base. He's played third base some too. Sosa. Yeah, somebody else would have to go down, or somebody else have to go on the IL.
But you're keeping Yepez.
Yeah, I don't think.
So what happens to Dickerson if you're bringing up Gorman?
Maybe he's the odd man out. I mean, do you DFA? I mean, he's making $5 million?
Yeah,
they probably don't want to do that because they need left-handed bats,
right?
So,
but he's not batting.
No, he's not.
He's not.
And I'll tell you what killed me with him the other night. I have no problem starting Juan Yepez over Dylan Carlson or Tyler O'Neill, for example, giving him a start over one of those guys because of his bat. What I did not like the other night was Yepez DHing and Corey Dickerson in right field. That game that we lost the Giants 3-1 or 2-1, whatever it was. One of those runs was, runners on first and second, base hit to right field. 2 runs scored.
Right.
Because Dickerson apparently has a noodle arm. The ball bounced twice.
Doesn't have the Carlson arm.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's what's tough with me with Carlson is like, you're telling me, well, DeYoung's been great defensively. Like, just give him time to hit. Dylan Carlson's been great defensively. He has the best throw of any outfielder this year to throw somebody out. A 97.5 mile per hour throw from the center field wall. He's making plays out there. Like, he's by far got the better arm. So that kind of drove me nuts. I didn't like to see that the other night. And look, I'm not trying to knock Ollie. I didn't look. Maybe it was a matchups thing. Maybe Dickerson had good numbers against that starter. I don't know.
But at what point do you go away from all that BS? I mean, Dickerson hasn't performed. Paul DeYoung hasn't performed. At what point do you say it's time? Look, the Cardinals are in good shape. Even though the season right now we feel like it's not great.
They've been playing about 500 ball. I mean, we're 4 games over 500, but it's I mean, we're exactly 5-5 in the last 10. So
right. And we haven't hit all cylinders at the same time.
No.
It's just not clicking all the way. And
we haven't had that 17-game win streak yet.
Yeah, well,
we're just waiting on that.
Just waiting. At the end of the year, then all of a sudden they shoot up to first. But it's just it's not all clicking, and they're in a fine spot. I feel like, as I said in the offseason, that this team is really, really close to being really, really good. So my question:
they just need what we said all offseason,
a shortstop, and some pitching. Now, why do we know that and they didn't? I mean, maybe they did know it and they just wouldn't go to it. So when I talked about trading, Xander Bogaerts has come out and they said that he doesn't want to renew there. He's the end of his
free agent after this season.
After the season, so you would think they're going to move him
and they're not looking good.
And they're not looking great. And you would think they're going to move him. It would be smart.
You texted me. You asked what it would take. And I even said it. Gorman's probably going to be would have to be the highlight of that contract.
Right. So, and I think I asked in the text, at what point do you trade a could be versus a right now he's ready, right? Which is Xander Bogaerts, who's been good for years, who's been much better than DeYoung for the last similar time frame.
Oh, yeah.
So what I think what Cardinals fans would get scared of, you trade out Gorman, you're like, oh, he's gonna get us back later. That was our best
Right.
player, our best future. But right now, you have someone that could fill the hole. Because if you fill a hole with Xander Bogaerts, I don't care if you trade prospects that we don't know, or lower end prospects, and you get him because it's a rental in theory if you don't re-sign him, because he may not cost a ton if you're not getting an immediate contract, right? He may not be as expensive.
Right.
But if you're doing that move, you're saying Gorman's not playing. Either Yepez or Gorman's going to be your DH.
And one of them would have to go.
Right.
It would not make sense to keep one of them.
Right.
And if we're saying now, well, Gorman's just blocked. Well, we can't move Tommy to shortstop. He won Gold Glove, second base. Okay. Tommy's going to be on the team for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. That's why they chose him over over Wong, was because of his money, making $500,000 a year instead of $10 million a year.
Exactly.
And now he's a Gold Glove, best second baseman in all of baseball.
One of the best hitters on the team right now, too.
And second best hitter on the team. Tommy Edman is here to stay.
Right. So
I'm happy for that. I'm a big Tommy fan. I have been since he
keeps proving me wrong, man, and I will gladly just eat it. I hope he does this all season. He's looked great.
His strikeouts are down. His on base percentage is up. He's walked. He struck out a couple times the other day, but at one point he had more walks than he did strikeouts, which is what a leadoff hitter should be.
That was the biggest knock on him last year. He wasn't walking. But right, Tommy's still going to be there next year.
Yes.
The year after that. So if you're never going to move Tommy to shortstop to give Nolan a chance to play second, or part one, or you're not going to let Nolan be the main DH, then why are we keeping him?
Right.
Look, I want to see him. He had his 12th home run the other night. He's still leading all of baseball in homers. Like, I want to see him. But if we're not going to see him and we're not going to make a space for him, right now is the best time to trade him.
Yeah.
His value is not going to be any higher.
So what do you think it takes for him to play? Like, in actuality, what we want versus what's going to happen. What is it going to take for Gorman to actually come up? Is it an injury?
It feels like right now, it's going to take DeYoung getting COVID, which I'm not wishing that on anybody again, or getting hurt. I mean, honestly, I think so. Here's a question. Do you think that if Paul DeYoung had gotten COVID this week instead of Edmundo Sosa would be getting all these starts at shortstop, or we would see Tommy slide over and Gorman get a chance?
Yes.
Because Sosa hasn't looked good at the plate either.
I think so.
You think so?
I think that they're like, all right, here we go. Here's our chance to get Sosa some
You're
reps.
probably right.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. I asked that
probably
question.
An injury.
I asked that question in actuality of I don't know what they really think it's going to take.
Or I was talking with a buddy about it, and he seems to think, well, he thinks the timeline is next year. He thinks that, hey, Albert's going to be gone.
Right. And it makes more sense.
Dickerson won't be there. But still, it's like, if you really think Yepez's bat plays and he proves it all year, well, then he's going to be DHing. You're not going to have him starting most of the time in right field or left field if you're so focused on defense as well.
So if we look at it
so
that
he's
way,
still blocked either way.
Well, we look at it that way. Are we thinking, all right, we're just playing this year to collect the attendance money because we have Yachty, Waino, and
maybe
Pujols?
so.
I mean, because I feel like literally I've said this. I feel like if we have what has gone wrong to start the season is O'Neill hasn't hit the way that he should.
Not at all.
Not even close.
Second homer this past weekend. It was his first one since opening day.
Carlson is not hitting the way that he should. If those two guys hit the way that they did last year, this team is really, really good. And then you're a shortstop away from being a real contender. Are they a real contender now with a Gorman up or someone that can actually hit? Maybe not, because we're still waiting on O'Neill to do what he's supposed to do, right? So will they make that move to make them better? I don't think the Cardinals are going to do it. That's my frustration but I also don't see them getting a shortstop either. Like, that's what I don't understand.
Well, if they didn't try to do it this offseason, which to their credit,
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, I mean,
if you look at the numbers from the guys that were possibilities.
Oh, I haven't checked in on that lately.
Oh, I mean, it's not
looking
good.
Pretty bad.
Oh, even like if you just think of
Trevor's story, I know has really been shown.
I've
kept quiet about
he has
it.
0 home runs, I do believe.
I've kept quiet about it because I was so for it.
But you know what?
He would be killing it here if he was with us.
Still batting better than Paul DeYoung.
That's what's sad.
He costs a lot less. But there's a give and take. But if you look at any of the free agents that the Cardinals were supposedly in line with at any time. Stroman, for one, in the pitching side, it's not gone well. I mean, the Cardinals look smart. If you look at all the things that have happened, like, it's not pretty. And the Cardinals look smart for not spending the money. Now, so will they spend the money on for a trade of a shortstop? I don't think so. I think that they should. I think I say that. I think that they should, but it's either you got to make a trade or you got to bring up Gorman. What's more likely? The Cardinals make a trade for a shortstop, or they bring up Gorman and move over Tommy? What's more likely for the Cardinals? Not for what you would do, what the Cardinals would do. What's more likely?
I think it's more likely that they move Tommy to shortstop. And I'll say that because when's the last time we've traded a top prospect for like a proven hitter? I mean, I can't even think who's the guy we traded for Matt Holliday? He was like a top 5 prospect. I can't even remember his name because he didn't pan out at all.
Well, right. But I think of Sandy Alcantara. Was he a top prospect?
No,
How high
I mean,
was he up?
He was like 10, 11,
Well, that's kind of my point, though, with Gorman. I know that he's looked really good in AAA, but it's really hard to be really good in the majors.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but you still won't know until you get a shot. And I think that's the other side of them. Like, they've got to be getting there.
right.
Because you saw what happened with Rosarena. You didn't give him a shot.
But he's also terrible this year as well.
Yeah, he hasn't been great this year. But, and that could be law of averages. Maybe that's who he is now.
Right.
But, same thing with Adolis Garcia. You didn't give him a shot. And he goes to Rangers and hits 30-something home runs.
Right.
Whatever. Like, so I think they know, okay, we got burned not giving guys a shot. We've got to give them a shot. I wanted to throw this out there. There's only one guy in all of baseball right now with a lower batting average among qualified hitters than Paul DeJong. Who do you think it is?
Is it Votto?
It's Joey Votto.
Yeah. How about that? Nailed it.
122.
Yeah. He's on a COVID list now too, right? But
yeah, man. And that surprises me. 29 strikeouts as well.
I was going to say Joey. he was also in the top 10 in strikeouts as well, Joey Votto.
Because he had like a renaissance year last year for him. I mean, he was really good.
And people feel sorry for him. And they're like, they should
I
trade
feel
him.
sorry for him.
Well, yeah, batting 129 is
Well,
not helping himself. Not
too.
helping himself out.
Yeah.
He's not even making himself trade bait because he can't even hit. I mean, even if he wanted to go to a winner just for one time, he's not doing himself any service of doing that.
Yeah.
But he was doing the knobbed bat like Goldie and Nato too.
And he stopped.
He threw that thing away.
Didn't work for him.
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts, by the way, career 291 hitter, 354 OBP, 459 slugging, 813 OPS. He averages about, what am I looking at here? He averages about 25 home runs and 90 RBIs a season.
Over the last how many years?
He's been in the league 10 years now.
Has he really?
So he is 29. So that is part of it too, right? He'll be 30 in October. So, I mean, he's in his prime right now.
Right now.
Just like Nolan.
Right.
He's younger than Nolan, actually, by about a year. And he's been fantastic this year. I mean, you look at his numbers over the last, since 2018, and they are really, really good. The peak is 2019, 33 home runs, 117 RBI. He finished 5th in MVP voting that year.
So I guess I sit at this. I am probably in the minority, and I say it's really hard to be a big leaguer. You trade because if you want to win this year, and I think that's what everyone wanted going into the year was winning this year. This isn't a slow play to the next couple of years. Like you have Waino, you have Pujols, you have Yachty. This is the year. You go for this year. I think you make that trade, whether it's Gorman or somewhere even lesser. I think you do it because you don't know if you're going to re-sign him. Is Bogaerts if you got him,
right?
You don't know that you can re-sign him.
He's going to want a lot of money.
He's going to want a lot of money, and the Cardinals are going to pay it. So he's going to be less expensive, I think, to trade for because he is on a half a year deal or whatever left over. You're not going to sign him right away. You could try. They may let you attempt that to get more.
I could be totally wrong on Gorman. I mean, the fact that you bring up that he's free agent at the end of the year. I mean, look, now the Rockies did a terrible job, but look what the Rockies got for a guy who's going to be a free agent.
Right.
At the end. So, I mean, maybe it wouldn't take, if it wouldn't take the number one guy,
right? But
it might be worth it.
But I feel like the Cardinals are top heavy on our prospects, right? I feel like it's
kind of flip flop.
Gorman, it's Walker,
it's flip flop to us having high prospects in the infield, in middle infield, when traditionally it's what?
Outfield.
pitching.
And
Well,
Busch,
pitching.
not only that too, pitching and outfield. I mean,
Yeah.
you have all this logjam of outfielders for years. But my point is kind of that it is like this issue of where is it going to go? You know what I mean? Like I don't like. You have Jordan
We
Walker.
know wherever it goes, it can't be Paul DeJong.
Well, right.
We know that can't be the answer. So if that's not the answer, trade for Xander Bogaerts this year. Go for it this year. If you can re-sign him, great. If you can't, hopefully it worked out to trade for him for the half of the year, and you go for the World Series, and then Gorman's not blocked.
Well, who's untouchable to you in that? Like, so, like, I think I don't have the
if they're planning
the
if
dirty
they're-
flirty in front of me or
Yeah.
anything, but like I'm talking about Gorman, Liberatore, Walker, Mason Wynn.
I think the only untouchable prospects we have should be Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman.
That's it.
Maybe Matthew Liberatore, but even him, I wouldn't. I mean, because his ceiling honestly is probably like a 3,
Right.
a number 3 or number 2. So, and I say Gorman, if you're really planning on him being like the future of the team, then yeah, he shouldn't be untradeable.
Because wouldn't the Red Sox be interested in a Mason Wynn? I mean, doesn't
Yeah.
that fit? Doesn't that
He's oozing with, and his. I don't know if you've seen anything about him. Kyle Reese has been tweeting about
Right.
him a lot. His bat has really picked up this year.
right?
He's one of the fastest players we've already seen. He's already got probably the best arm in all of baseball.
But you got to think of the logjam that we're talking about, right? We're talking about Gorman. We're
Yeah,
talking
he's
about
a guy
Edman.
that's
We're talking about
3-4 years away.
right? So, is he 3 or 4 years away in a different organization?
Probably not. Not for the
Right.
Red Sox.
Right.
Not if they trade Xander Bogaerts.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. Now, maybe that's just me spitballing of what connecting
might
the
take,
dots.
yeah.
Connecting the dots of what I think makes sense, and I think that would make sense for both sides. I don't know if it's enough for what the Red Sox would want, but I think it makes sense for what it would take. I mean, that's where I think it should take in that range.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's transition to something else. So I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've been holding it back for a while. And I haven't had anything. Didn't text you about it. Didn't say anything.
I have no heads up.
You have nothing. So we are how many games in? We're
28
games in. So we're
16 and 12.
like a full month in, right? I absolutely hate the DH. The game is more boring. There's no strategy whatsoever happening. And you know what also happens?
no.
You know what also happens is that these guys on the bench don't get any reps. There's no one pinch hitting. There's no one going, and you're having those opportunities. You're missing out on all those things that haven't been happening. So you would be seeing more of Nootbaar when he was in there. You'd be seeing more of Donovan. You'd be seeing these matchups and things going back and forth. Pujols isn't getting opportunities because there's not a lefty coming in and going back and forth because they know this is the lineup and this is set, and they're not double switching. The game is bland on the DH. I hate it. I was not happy going into it, and now I'm looking there and I'm like, man, the game is more boring. Now, simpler-minded people might like it a little better because it's just easier.
Simple-minded. Look, I will say that you look across the board in baseball. I mean, offense is down all around.
Yeah.
And so that's surprising the least. I don't think it's more boring. I still want to see somebody who can hit the ball with the bat in their hands. For me, personally. Now, I will agree with you on the pinch hitting side that it keeps probably some of those other guys less sharp. But, I mean, at least for the Cardinals, from what I've seen, Ollie hasn't been, he hasn't been too against pinch hitting the DH hitters if it's a matchup thing. We've seen that happen with Albert coming out. If, they bring a righty in later, that he's bringing in Dickerson or Donovan. That happened the other day.
Right.
Actually, in the game we lost 4-3 to the Giants. Later in that game, a righty came in, tough throwing righty. So he took Albert out, and Donovan was batting in the cleanup spot, and that rolled around to the next inning. And I didn't hate it because it was matchups. So I think that's maybe where you got to play that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like kind of treat the DH as pinch hit opportunities if it's a good matchup. So I will agree with you on there. I don't think it's more boring though, I guess is where I'm at, because it's still more of a potential of offense. I would contend that the reason you're not seeing the DH explode on so many teams, and this is being talked a lot by the pitchers, it's being talked a lot by the hitters. Clearly, MLB has done something with the baseballs again.
Right.
And it's pretty clear. I mean, there are times that I've watched games that Nolan will hit a ball or Albert or somebody. I'm like, oh, that's gone.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah.
And it's like
I've experienced it multiple times.
5
definitely.
feet in front of the warning track. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? And then I'm like, this can't just be Busch
And have you also heard
about national games.
Yes, I think it was the Mets guy. Nah, maybe I'm wrong.
Somebody said, yeah,
No,
somebody
it was
was,
Brandon I think it was Brandon Crawford.
yeah,
When the games are nationally televised, all of a sudden the good balls are out there.
yeah. The balls are flying a little bit more
Right.
on Apple TV and
Mm.
YouTube TV and ESPN. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So they think it's better
Huh.
in theory, let's go, psychoanalyze conspiracy theory. If they think it's
But it's not conspiracy at this
Oh, yeah,
point. I mean,
yeah,
MLB, like,
but this part, the
Manfred
nationally.
confirmed last year that they changed the
Yes,
balls.
I'm done in the national game part of it.
Right.
They think, in theory, the game is better with a juiced ball. So they put it on the national games, but they
Right.
don't put it in the rest of the games, even though they think.
Why is that?
Right. How does that make sense? I don't understand the
Well,
correlation.
I'll tell you why that is. Because he wants the game to speed up. Remember?
Well, right.
Right.
And
Like
the Cardinals' one game was 2 hours and
it was under 3.
2:45. I want to say
It was.
one.
I know the game you're
The
thinking
Kansas
of.
City game, I do believe, was one of them.
Well, that and then when we lost 2-0 to the Diamondbacks,
Yeah.
they hit 2 home runs later in the game.
There was 2 games that have both been like 230, 245, and that's.
Yeah, they want the law of averages. He wants to say, well, he wants offense when it's nationally televised because that's what the young guys want to see.
Right.
The
And then
kids,
you
the
wanna
kids
see
that are trying to get back in the games, they
games are
want to see the home runs. They want
games
to
are
see
speeding up.
the bat flips. But the rest of the games. And obviously that's like a conspiracy right now. Would not surprise me if that was the case. Would not put it past someone to be doing that.
I mean,
We've already heard from the pitchers.
Yes.
The pitchers have said, look.
Well, first let's take the ball out of the humidors.
Yeah. Why are we doing that?
Why is that a thing? You want to have the same ball in every park? Makes sense. Okay, but you only use the humidor in like one ballpark, maybe 2. I'm not sure, but I know in Colorado is where they always used it.
Well, a lot of them are using it now. Busch
You have
is
to
doing
now.
it.
They're making them.
Right.
This
They're
year.
making.
But I'm
them
saying
do it,
before this year,
Oh yeah,
it was just Colorado, right?
I think. Yeah,
Right.
that's the only one I'd heard of doing it.
So we want to make the ball the same everywhere, but it doesn't make any sense to me. So let's have less home runs everywhere else. Now, Busch has played big, as a big ballpark for the last few years. Since pretty much Ballpark Village has gone up and the buildings have gone up, it's really died down that alleyway. But, I think they have to do something differently with the ball but I hate the 3 true outcomes. And I think that's a big part of why they've changed it is to eliminate the 3 true outcomes. And I think that's bad for baseball. And I think that has been last year in 2020 as well.
If you want to help eliminate that, then ban the shift.
I think that
that would be
though,
better.
Right? That's happening next
supposedly.
Year, right? Okay.
I don't know if that's been officially voted on, but I think that would help. I think that would help the 3 true outcomes thing more than messing with the baseball this much. Because what's happening? What's the cause and effect of what you're doing with the baseballs right now? Well, we heard Chris Bassett say it after his game against the Cardinals last week with the Mets, and he threw 6 2/3 scoreless. Like we lost that game 3-0 or something. He pitched great, but he had like 4 or 5 walks.
Right.
And he said after the game, they're doing something with the baseballs. And that's why you're seeing people get hit in the head. That's why you're seeing people, the pitchers lose control of a fastball.
He said
and
it would
come up
change
inside.
every inning.
Every inning. He said the field would feel off. He'd feel great one inning. The next, he'd have no control at all. It's like,
how does it get
these
to
are
a
major
point,
league pitchers that have never had this issue before.
How does it get to a point of the pitchers don't like it and the hitters don't like it?
Yeah.
How does it get to that point?
It's bad when it's on both
sides, right?
Yes.
So, all right, let's go back a little bit.
And part of this too, by the way, I think is the spider tack. So, and the taking away that because I do think some of that is might be needed.
Right.
There might need to be like a universal.
Not the KBO.
Uniform.
Have you seen the KBO stuff? KBO uses a pre-sticky ball is the best way I can. There's stuff that when it's manufactured, there's a stickiness to it already.
I'm not if it helps the pitchers have better control. Now
it's a lot. It's a lot of sticky.
Yeah, that might be too much.
Yeah, and so I think it's on the same idea of that.
Right.
It's just not.
You don't want it to look like a wiffle ball.
Right.
You don't want, and, you don't want that, and that's I think where it was.
And that's where the true outcomes also happen. The 3
strikeouts
because of the strikeout part. But let me back up.
You want pitchers to have control. The hitters would tell you that too. I think.
What are they using in the minors?
I have no idea.
Well, that's my question.
Rosin. I think
Gorman is bombing. Moises Gomez, right? Did I just make that name up? I had that right?
Or more, that sounds right.
Okay.
I know you're talking about. He's the other outfielder in our AA system.
That's bombing, right?
Killing the ball.
Who else?
Yepez
bombing in minors. Now, what ball is being used there? Is it
That's a good question.
is it a more juiced ball? Is it, what is the
And there's park factors too. Some of those minor
Yes.
league parks are a lot smaller. but
weird configurations
dimensions,
and
yeah.
stuff like that? But, are we getting a little Gorman? We're getting a little tricked by what ball's being used down there too, because you come up here and he's now warning track power. That's a big difference as well.
Oh yeah.
So,
But we won't know until we see it. Can we just see it at least? Can we? That's where I'm at. I mean, on the flip end of that, you wouldn't want him sucking in the minors either,
Well,
right?
right.
Like at least
Well,
he's
you'd out of the
you'd
two
rather have him
options.
tearing it up. I mean, there's plenty of guys that aren't tearing it up,
Right.
So yeah, but I get what you're saying, and I agree. I'm curious. I don't know. I don't know if they're using the same ball.
Yeah.
I
I don't know the answer. I just asked.
are they letting them use some, sunscreen with the rosin? I have no idea. There needs to be something, I think, though, because it's pretty clear that the Mets would tell you we're getting hit way too much,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like I would think the hitters would say too, yeah, we want the pitchers to have a pretty good level of control over the baseball. They don't want to get drilled
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's switch.
unintentionally.
Let's switch gears again. So, I have a couple other thoughts, and gonna go to the big three. I'm gonna call them the big three. Waino, Yachty, and Pujols. Have they underperformed, overperformed, or performed as you expected so far this year?
I would say I think Albert's probably been about what I thought it would be. Obviously, was hoping it would be a little bit better.
Yeah.
He'd have a few more home runs by now. Yachty, I would say, I think what shocked me with Yachty is how much Kisner's gotten to start,
I would agree.
and he's been on board with that. Ollie talked to credit to Ollie because no other manager we've had has been able to do this, but he talked to him about that at the beginning. I'll be interested to see if that starts to shift as the season goes on, because it seemed like it was something more that he convinced Yachty to do this first month because
Right.
Yachty was coming in behind and didn't
Sure.
get all of spring training. But credit
But
to
Kisner
Kisner.
was hitting early. He's not lately.
He's not, not as much lately, but I will say he has looked very much improved behind the plate.
Yes.
He's throwing runners
actually
out
framing the ball properly.
so much
I always
better.
had such a problem with him just dropping strikes down, if that makes sense. He's catching and moving,
losing it what should be a strike for the pitcher.
Yeah, because he's like not stabbing at it and framing up.
You can tell he's worked hard,
Right.
which is great. You want to see that. That's great. And yeah, he was hitting the ball. Yachty picked it up, I think, over these last 4 or 5 days. He had the homer the other day. He's had, I think, a double since then. He's starting to hit more. So I'll be interested to see as he kind of gets into form if that will still happen. But for the most part, I think Yachty's kind of been where I thought. Waino's probably been a little worse than I thought he would be at this point, which is so unfair to say. The
Yes.
guy's almost 41, but he's had a little bit more control issues than I thought he'd have with the walks.
Yeah, 5 walks in one game is very uncharacteristic of him. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said, really. I mean, Albert, I was worried that he wasn't going to get enough at bats in general.
Which
is
with Yepes now might happen.
Yes, and now
because he's like 2 for 28 now against right-handed.
Right.
You can't start him against right-handed pitching. You can't.
And unless there's I haven't seen all the numbers based on just like guys that throw low 90s and lower. I haven't seen that breakdown of his hits, but the problem with him, and I would rather see Albert Pujols against righties instead of Dickerson, because I think every single time Albert was taking a good at bat. He knows to advance the runner or take a ball. Like, he did all the right things. He wasn't, I've seen, some of these pitches that are hangers that he would normally have just throttled.
Can of corners, just missing them. Yeah.
He's just missing them, and he's not there anymore where he used to be. But against lefty, he's killing it. I just don't think he's going to get enough at bats, and that's what I worried about before. And I said he would get to 700 home runs. 700 home runs.
Yeah, I think we were both hopeful.
Yes. So where do you sit now? Where a month in he has 2. Where do you sit with that happening? He has he needs 19 more.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
Unless he just starts to go on some sort of tear or someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
Or Yepes is the wild card in this, right? Is this just because he's obviously not going to keep hitting at the clip that he's hitting right now too. Right. I mean, he's just so young. You don't expect it to happen, but I think with Yepes up now, Gorman possibly looming if he gets any DH opportunities, I would be surprised if Albert gets there. Maybe Waino can convince him to come back another season, but we want to do that,
right?
Like,
we're still doing what we're talking about. You're still blocking and having issues there. Well, and with Yachty part of it, I'm shocked how little Yachty has played.
Yeah.
I'm shocked at how many off days that he's getting. Now, whenever Kisner was actually hitting and coming up at big spots, I didn't have any problems with it. I think, again, Yachty and Pujols, shockingly, sadly, whichever way you want to look at it, are very similar hitters now, and that they're going to take good at bats, and they're going to
Work the count.
They're going to work the count and
take
go,
a walk.
They're going to go all out on one pitch if they can think that's going to be the pitch, right? But they're going to have a good at bat. I trust them. Runners at second and third with one out. I feel really good that they're
going to put the ball in play.
And that I feel confident that both of them would hit into a double play if there's runners at first and third.
Oh, absolutely.
But I feel just as confident that they're probably not going to strike out. So, like, I just can't believe that he's played so little. So if Kisner doesn't hit, I'd rather see Yachty in there because I think that his at-bats are going to be better.
Well, and he's still proven to you what you just said, too, especially over the last 3 years. Like, got the clutch factor.
Yeah.
Yachty still has that. He can still hit with runners in scoring position. Like you said, he's going to give you a good at-bat and a good chance.
Yeah. And then Waino, I think he's underperformed. His walks are high, and I don't know what to contribute any of that to.
It could just be a few off starts because he also had which now he's got COVID.
Yeah.
So sounds like
he said he's felt fine.
If
so
he has back-to-back negative tests, no symptoms, he might still make his next start, which would be great. But I think it was his last start, right, against the Royals. He went 7 and 1 hit. He only had like 2 or 3 strikeouts, but no walks, or maybe 1 walk.
I don't remember if that was his most recent start or not.
I think it was his last one because he didn't start against the Giants. I don't think he started in this Giants series.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
He looked fantastic in that one against the Royals. The control was much better.
Yeah.
Was kind of surprising to see only 2 strikeouts, but when you're getting ground balls like that, like, his cutter was working really well, which is a pitch that hasn't been working for him, and his sinker. So I think he'll be fine. I'm not worried about him. While we're on the topic of Waino, maybe we talk a little bit about the biggest strengths we've seen of this team so far. What do you think that is? Aside from obvious choice in the NL Player of the Month with Nolan Arenado.
Well, yeah, I was gonna bring up Nolan in a second after that, but
it's a nice jersey in the background there.
I got it from some dude on Facebook. I would recommend it. I don't even know his name. I can look it up for you, but Michaelis. I mean, that's the obvious. The starting pitching.
He's been the ace of the staff so far.
Starting pitching I would say pitching in general has been better than I thought, but if you look at it, break it down, it's not been that great.
No.
But Michaelis has been awesome. And I thought Michaelis was done, to be honest. I thought it was another one of these contracts that of like, what the hell are you doing? He had one good year.
Stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy. It's just throwing
bad
money.
Really, really good.
He's looked awesome. And I think that, in the bullpen hasn't looked as good as it did last year. McFarland and Cabrera giving up the bomb, the go-ahead smash by Yastrzemski. But
I do think overall the bullpen has been a pretty big strength. But yeah, what has surprised me is guys that I thought would be strong, like McFarland, like Genesis Cabrera the other day, gave up a big homer to Yastrzemski, the lefty. It was out in the bay.
Splash,
so
man, I mean, that was just a bad home run. I mean, because they were back, they tied it up.
Yeah, we had just tied it. Yeah, that.
But Helsley has been awesome. Michaelis has been awesome.
Helsley was the guy I was going to say. He in Fangraphs is just gushing over him. Some of their writers, for good reason. You dig into his numbers. He is, and is not even close to say this. It's not an over exaggeration. He is by far the best reliever in baseball right now.
Well, he hasn't allowed a run.
No, he's allowed 1 hit.
Yeah,
1 hit.
Well, and I say that bad about Cabrera, by the way.
He's not walking anybody either. I don't even think he's allowed to walk yet.
I don't think so either. I said that bad about Cabrera. That was his first extra base hit against a lefty.
Yeah, he's
been good
for the most part.
He had more problems with righties. Lefties he had dominated. That was his first extra base hit. His only second hit given up against a lefty.
Yeah.
So like
McFarland's been the one really that surprised me.
He's not keeping the ball down.
And maybe he was, he might have just been a flash in the pan kind of guy last year, but he's not getting those ground balls.
He's not. That's where he obviously in Wrigley last year and a bunch of different games where he came through and got ground balls and got things done, and he's not done that at all. But
so let's talk about this while we're on the topic of the rotation and the bullpen. 2 questions. Who do you think is the odd man out of the bullpen once Alex Reyes returns? And who do you think's the odd man out of the rotation? Or do you think we go to a 6-man rotation when Jack Flaherty returns? Now, Flaherty, it sounds like, is the closest.
Right.
He's probably like early June, which For some reason, I thought he was going to be back by the end of May.
May,
It
right.
sounds like they're just giving him a little bit more time. He threw a second bullpen today, I think, and came out of that well. So he's probably a month ahead of Reyes. I don't even think Reyes is throwing that far yet. So Reyes is probably like a late June, July return. Jack's looking like a first week of June return if all things go well and he has good rehab starts. Do you think they go to a 6-man? Or do you
I think you should.
You think so?
I do,
But
because
that's less starts for Waino.
it is, and maybe when you skip, you're skipping someone else, because
Right.
there's a lot of skip opportunities because of a 6-man rotation.
Well, Jordan Hicks has already been skipped several times.
Right. And
That was for off days though.
yeah, but my thought is, there's going to be another injury. It's kind of like our thought in the offseason of, we can't sign another pitcher, as people would tweet and say things like,
Right.
we don't have enough room. Yeah, there's plenty of room because someone's always injured. Right now, there's 2 starters that are injured. So just think if we would have signed one more pitcher, we wouldn't be as bad in the starting rotation, right?
Yeah.
So I say you go that route because it's only a matter of time before it already gets messed up. So let's say you send down Woodruff, right? But then you need him again to pitch because someone else is injured, like the up and down, back and forth. Like
He just did it the other day when Matz got knocked
Right.
around and he threw 3 1/3
Right.
and scoreless.
Right. So instead of sitting him down, that's
I actually, now that you say that, he's probably the guy. If
Yeah.
Reyes were to come back, because I think they would send him down to get him stretched out.
right.
In
That's my
case they need him as a starter.
that's my point. Yeah, it's like it's that back and forth. So you use him properly because Woodruff isn't only being used in the long relief type thing right now, and he's not being used hardly at all. I mean, that
Yeah.
may have been his only 4th.
I think that was only his second appearance
That's
this
what
year.
I was gonna say 4. So 2 appearances.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3. I'm thinking like early in the season, and then he went to Cincinnati, and then this game. So maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe
But my
3.
point is, he's not being used.
He's not pitching.
Yes. So if we think that he, in the event of another injury, or if Hicks isn't cutting it or something like that, you got to have someone else ready to go. And I don't think anyone else is ready to go. And Liberatore, again, talking about prospects, he hasn't looked very good in his last couple starts either.
And he's probably not coming unless there's a big
Yes.
injury or September call up.
Yes.
I would say, though, I would disagree with you on the 6-man. And I would say, and we talked about this a little bit, and I think I don't think Steven Matz is going to get bumped out of the rotation because they just
Just 4
signed him.
years.
It's 4 years,
Yeah,
10,
ain't
11
happening.
million. It's not happening. They're going to let him try to get right.
You wish you had Stroman?
I haven't looked at his
It's
numbers.
terrible. He's on the
Okay.
he's on the IL as well.
I wish we had Scherzer. How about that?
For 40, whatever it was, 40 something million dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes. Not my money.
Um,
No, I think when Jack comes back, if Dakota Hudson is still struggling like he is,
finding the strike zone.
yeah, and that's always been a problem. If you look at his career, his walk rate is very high. Now he's gotten away with it
Well,
because
yeah, I was
he
gonna
gets
say
ground balls.
the last game, he was not good,
No,
but we lost. It was tied 2-2 until the Yastrzemski. I can't say the.
they had to take him out of the 4th inning because
right.
he had thrown so many pitches from walking people.
But
Walked
he
4 or 5
gave
people.
up 2 runs. It wasn't that bad, is my point.
Right.
He's walking too
Right.
many, but if you look at it when it comes down to it, the bullpen is what gave up the lead and the loss. So he did throw too many balls and had too many walks.
Right.
And I think he was 47% strikes. It was real bad.
What I'm worried that they're going to do when Jack comes back is just put Hicks back in the bullpen. And
Yeah.
now that I've seen him some now start, he might have the most upside of any starter that we have at the moment.
Can he go 6 innings?
Well, he's still
Is
getting.
he a
He's
Carlos
still getting.
Martinez type that he's he can throw gas, but he's not going to go a long time, or he's can't keep it in the strike zone. I mean, Jordan Hicks' balls move so much that you can start staying off of them too.
But man.
Oh,
but you're not seeing anybody do that yet.
Right.
So do they
Yeah.
make adjustments? Maybe.
Right.
This last start, he was 1 out away from getting through 5.
Yeah.
So he threw 70 pitches, I think, which is like a season high.
Right.
So he's getting.
And he had his career high in strikeouts as well.
Right,
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yes.
So I think he's on the cusp of getting fully stretched out.
Yeah.
And I want to see that. I want to see what he can do in 5, 6, 7 innings. He almost did it in 5 last time. He's not walking people.
Yeah.
He's dialed it back, and he's still throwing 98, 99. Gets any runners in scoring position, he just throws 101, blows it by people.
He's
But
more exciting than Dakota, Matz.
even Michaelis, which Michaelis has looked great,
Right.
but I'm in terms of I'm turning the game on to watch him when he's pitching. It's not just the blowing people away. His
It's the
slider
movement. Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a wiffle ball.
Right.
He struck a guy out the other night, 101, 102. The guy fouled off 102, and then he throws up a 78-mile-per-hour 12-6 curveball.
Yeah. He must have got that from Wayno. I mean,
Yes, and it was
pretty.
wasn't like a get me over. It was nasty.
Yes.
It's like you have
Big breaker.
no shot. The Carlos didn't have that.
Right.
Carlos, he had the electric fastball for a while, and he had the wipeout slider, and he just got hurt all the time and just fizzled. And he couldn't.
Why did the who signed him? Why did the Red Sox pick him up?
So they were, I think, the first team that had originally signed him.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he either didn't. I guess they got a choice. He could accept that offer or whatever they got to give him to go, and he didn't accept it or something, or they traded him something. So they already had some history with him. So I think maybe they're just sounds like they're just looking for anybody.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle.
Can we get somebody to get
out?
outs for us because pitching hasn't been good. But yeah, Jordan, I was very against him going the rotation.
I was too
this year because I just thought he was too good in the bullpen. But now that I've seen it, I'm like, man, he actually looks really good.
I say that, and I saw someone said on Twitter, "Do not let Helsley go to the starting rotation." So,
yeah.
Supposedly that's a thought.
Well, he started in the minors,
right? And so the people are talking. Well, now
you better not touch him right now.
Now he's ready to go as a starter.
No,
I don't.
If we were doing like a true closer, he should be that guy right now.
Right.
But even better, he's the guy. I mean, to Ollie's credit, he is the guy that Ollie's going to when it's like best hitters coming up. He did it in the Giants series. It was one of those games that we won.
First two.
Yeah, Cabrera or somebody had walked somebody, and it was like the 8th inning, and he let him pitch he let him pitch an inning in 2/3.
Yeah,
and he just got 5 strikeouts.
I think 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Yes.
Helsley
has looked amazing.
He looks filthy.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of a true closer. I'm a fan of real. Everyone has a position. I'm not a big fan of the analytics and swapping everybody in and out for different things. And I like a true closer. I also don't like the DH because it sucks. But we'll talk about. Oh, and Buster Posey is not a Hall of Famer. But let's talk about Nolan Arenado.
Just because we played the Giants, you got to throw that in
Yes.
there,
Well, I mean, Katie Wu, lover, she was tweeting how one of the greatest or one of the best. She tweeted out a great ceremony for one of the best, and I tweeted at her, "Be sure to let your family know you're a Cardinal girl now, and that Buster Posey is not a Hall of Famer." By the way, Yadier Molina now has 274 more RBIs than Buster does in his career.
And all as a catcher.
And all as a catcher. You got that right. And Buster's probably, never mind, just 500 maybe as a catcher. Anyways,
Buster's a good guy.
Good guy.
We don't dislike Buster.
It isn't the hall of good guys.
No, that's true. That is true.
Well, we've gone an hour almost now, but let's talk about the best player in maybe baseball, Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
He has been
for sure in the National League.
Everything. Oh, yes. Everything overall, definitely. I look at his numbers almost every day, stats wise, how he's matching up. He's the best player in the National League, and he has been all season. He's what I thought he was last year. He's come through with big hits. He's come with clutch moments, which he did not do last year, very sparingly. He was not hitting when he needed to. He would only hit home runs when it was late, and it didn't matter. Like things I was tracking.
He was up there with Yachty in runners in scoring position, hitting for us.
Yes.
Well, you don't get to 104 or 5 RBIs.
Well, right. But I'm talking about in the clutch situations,
Yeah.
which is 7th inning or later. There's a baseball reference thing there. It's a 7 innings or later down with the tying run or a go-ahead run on base. Like there's all these parameters that go into that. But he just wasn't hitting in those situations.
Right.
This year he has done everything correctly, except he had the one weird error that people had problems with in the one game that led to the loss. But where he took too many steps and whatever,
that game was brutal.
That
was the Scherzer game that we took the lead, and then they scored 5 runs in the ninth or whatever.
And that was, part of that was on him, and the other part was on Gallegos. But
yeah, Gallegos was not.
That was
good.
his only bad. But overall, he was the April Player of the Month in the National League,
and it wasn't even close.
And I think it was his
first getting that honor since I think either 18 or 19.
And it's the first third baseman to do it for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Since like the 70s or something. Yeah.
You got it. So he is
he's on an MVP path.
He's a
right
plus 750 to win MVP. I last check plus 750.
We need to go ahead and throw money on that
I have
like now.
I have.
I'm gonna have to jump in.
I have. Last check when I bet it, I do believe it was plus 750. I think I put like $50 on it because why not?
Probably my favorite stat so far on the year with him. 34 hits and 16 strikeouts.
No,
Because it seemed like well, actually he didn't strike out. Would you believe me if I told you he struck out less than 100 times last year?
no, probably not. I mean, there's probably not very many guys that have on the team that was there. Probably.
No, but he only struck out 96 times last year. But I think a lot of those strikeouts were traded for pop-ups. We
I was
saw a
gonna
lot
say
of
the
pop-ups.
pop-ups. He does that a lot still right now.
Well, he's aggressive first pitch sometimes,
Yes.
and I don't have a problem with that. It just hurts sometimes when there's like he actually did that yesterday in the game we lost 4-3. I think Goldschmidt had just hit a double with 2 outs. It was like 7th or 8th inning. We had an opportunity. He had an opportunity to tie it back up 4-4, and he like popped up on the first pitch or grounded out on the first pitch. I don't have a problem with that though. If you feel like you've got a pitch you're looking for and you get it, like, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because he does pop out a lot. Like more, like I haven't broken down the numbers, but I would assume like his like most common outcomes would be a hit or a pop up. Like those would be like really
Or like a lazy
on
fly
base.
out.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I feel like he gets under the ball and literally pops up high pop ups.
Yeah.
Whether that's in fair territory or foul territory. And I'm not savvy enough to say, this is how you would fix that. I wonder if there's someone that sees that, even though he's that good, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
Does a Jeff Albert, which I don't think he would. I think he's more analytical than
Right.
someone else.
Maybe Jim Edmonds, somebody like that.
Yeah. Does he say like, you're doing a little of this and you're getting underneath the ball because he's creating that backspin to try and get the ball out of there?
Right.
Do you go a different way about it? I maybe don't try not to fix it because he's Nolan Arenado and he's raking.
I wouldn't say anything to him right now. I mean, 16 strikeouts, 12 walks, almost got, as many walks as strikeouts. Batting 330, 400 OBP. That was a big thing we didn't see last year's OBP last year was only 312. 621 slugging and a 1.021 OPS.
All right, I pulled up
insane.
I pulled up my bet. So yeah, I was dead right. Plus 750. I don't know if you can see this at all. Plus 750.
Ooh.
$50 bet. It pays out $425.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to.
And that's what I bet that on.
That might be the only prediction we make
Tuesday.
that actually might happen.
Yeah, and if you also see,
because it's not looking like Tyler O'Neill's going to lead the NL in home runs.
You can see all these other opens right there. So the ones that are open, that I have like long-term bets on.
Pujols getting to 700.
Pujols 700 career home run, $5 bet. It pays $55. When I bought it was plus 1,000. I have the National League Central. See, this is not looking good because of how bad the Cubs have been playing. But I have the Cardinals as first, Milwaukee as second, and Chicago at third. It was plus 475 for that to happen. And so I bet $5, it pays $28. Like I didn't spend a huge amount of money. Cardinals to win the National League Central. Again, this was preseason. There was plus 215. You 3 times your money. I mean, so bet $5, you win 15, 20, you win 60, that sort of thing. And then Cardinals win the World Series. That, before the season started, plus 3,500. $5 bet wins you 180.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, so those are my open bets that are related to the St. Louis Cardinals. But the one I feel best about right now is the April Player of the Month and Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, so, just don't go get fast food this week and throw that money down on Nolan to win MVP.
I mean, I haven't looked and see if it's changed, if the numbers have changed at all, but you would have to assume I was trying to look up and I couldn't find it quickly, but who was ahead of him? He was not number one, even though he just won Player of the Month. He was not number one for the best odds. So, what does it take to become the best odds? And, I bought this jersey just so when I go to Cincinnati again, because there'll be no fans there, maybe hopefully to be able to get an autograph and I can hang it up. But because, there's no fans in Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah. No, I just went a few weeks ago. There's not many there. And they've got, people paying to fly banners over the stadium, telling the owner to sell the team. They are not happy, understandably. Yeah, so Nolan, let's see here. He is, I just had the National League pulled up and it went away from me. He is tied for third in the NL at 7 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
He and Manny, actually, there's a lot of people that have 7 home runs right now. Willie Adames, surprisingly, that Brewers shortstop that they got from the Rays last year, he has 8 home runs. CJ Cron with the Rockies has 9 home runs.
Yes,
So just
he's been the one up there right there with Nolan on that.
Yep, 2 away from the home run lead in the NL. Is it Rowdy or Rody Tellez?
It's
Over there?
Rowdy. I do
Okay.
believe.
Rowdy's leading the NL. He and Alonso with 26. Nolan is second at 24. So I mean, he's in the top 2, 3 of just about every category that you can look at. Really, I mean,
Yes, he really is. Even hits,
he's right up there.
hits, doubles. He's right there in all of those categories.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think it gets. I mean, I don't think there's a more a better bet right now than Nolan to win the MVP. He's never won one, and so obviously he needs to win one. And then I would like it to be in his World Series year as well. So might as well go ahead and make that happen.
Oh, absolutely. That would put a bow on his career, and he'd still be going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, because he's already looking obviously towards to be a Hall of Famer. So whenever you do that, then you win an MVP and win a World Series. I mean, he's already gonna go and make that happen. I just pulling up to winners of the year. So if you look at the current bets for team futures to be the World Series champions, who do you think right now is the worst odds to be the World Series champ?
I would probably guess who was the worst team in baseball last year. But probably
This is right now.
Right now.
Okay.
Okay. So right now at this point, I mean, probably the Reds. Got to be the Reds, right?
Yeah, Reds and the Orioles who come to town this week.
So that's surprising. The Orioles, I mean, they're bad, but they're only 12 and 17 right now.
There's a lot of zeros here, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how many zeros that is. I think it's plus 10,000 that they to win the World Series.
Wow.
Plus 10,000. Pirates and A's. Pirates, A's, Nationals.
The A's, I forgot about how bad the A's are.
Pirates, A's, Nationals are plus 9,000. I mean, that's pretty high. Then you start having drop-offs from there.
The A's, by the way, they never traded Montes, did they?
No, they have not. They're going to.
That's going to be happening soon.
Diamondbacks at plus 6,000. No, I'm reading this even worse, I think. It's 60. It's 100. Oh, my gosh. It's Reds, Orioles are 100,000. Pirates, Athletics, Nationals, plus 90,000. Diamondbacks plus 60,000. That's like unbelievable. Like, those odd numbers are crazy. So then you go up to Cubs are plus 20,000. And then you get down to the Cardinals are plus 3,500.
Okay.
It's for them to, if you pick them to win the World Series right now, plus 3,500. Do you remember? I don't remember what I said I bet it at. But the favorites right now,
gotta be the Dodgers would be my guess.
Dodgers plus 450, and then Yankees plus 650.
Yankees look good early on, man.
They do.
Anthony Rizzo, that he's made them look pretty good early on.
The Cardinals are what I bet it at was plus 3,500, so it hasn't moved since the beginning of the season to now.
Nice.
So I mean, they're playing as expected if you look at it that way.
Yeah, I agree with you though, man. It just feels like we're one more bat away. I want that to be
one more bat if O'Neill is doing what he's supposed to do.
Well, yes. We need O'Neill's got to be what he was last year. I don't think he has to be for us to win the division or to make the playoffs.
I don't either.
But for us to go deep,
yes,
for sure. Obviously, you want to see Carlson build on what he did last year too. But yeah, Tyler for sure. But yeah, the shortstop, man, I think it's just that spot or moving Tommy. For me, if we could just, I want to see. Obviously, I want it to be Gorman. I want to see what he can do. But if we're not going to do that, go make a bold trade for somebody. And the name that jumps out obviously is, Xander Bogaerts, but I'm sure there's other shortstops out there that maybe we don't even know of. A guy like, I don't know, like a Tim Anderson on the White Sox who aren't playing well. I don't know that they would trade him.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, and they have not been.
And they have not been at all. And they had a great comeback win the other night that I was watching. Yeah. But and I don't understand why they're not playing well. And Tim Anderson. I love Tim Anderson.
He's solid.
Yes.
He's a good defender, and he can hit.
Yes.
He's not going to hit 30 home runs, but he can hit 20, 25. He can hit around 289. I mean, he could be like a guy that would help out a lot. So again, either make a trade for a guy like that so we can have someone at least doing something with the bat in that position of the lineup, at shortstop, or give Gorman his shot. I think either way, we're gonna see Nolan this year. I don't know how you keep him down, Nolan Gorman. I do not know how you. He's very much like Yepez for me at this point. Those two have nothing left to prove at the plate at AAA. They just don't. I don't think so. The only reason you keep Gorman down at this point is because he's not going to play second base, and you just want him to keep getting reps at second base. Fine, I get that. Then he better be the guy next year.
At second base?
Yes.
What happens to Tommy Edman?
He goes to shortstop.
You think they're going to go into a season and say, Tommy,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Just because you move him there doesn't mean he has to play there every single game.
Right.
There might be a game that you want Gorman to DH. There might be a game where a tough lefty's on the mound and Gorman's not going to play, right? So you put Tommy back at second base. Tommy's clearly shown he's got that versatility. But I get why they're keeping him at second base. He just won the Gold Glove.
Right.
He's proven that he can be there.
He's the best second baseman in all of baseball, and I get that. I get that it doesn't make sense to move him. I understand it. But you know what? We have 5 Gold Glovers. No other team has that. And nice bow to put on this. As I said earlier, no, we have never won a World Series with a Gold Glover second baseman. We had Colton Wong, who got picked off first base in a World Series to end the game.
He kind of made up for it.
Yeah. They didn't win a World Series, so I don't know if you can make up for it if you never won a World Series. But
they had chances to come back.
You have Tommy Edman, who last year and then got knocked out in the first game of the playoffs, and you had Fernando Vina win the Gold Glove.
2 grand slams and 1 inning. Was that him?
No, that's Fernando Tatis.
Fernando Tatis.
Fernando Vina, the second.
What am I doing?
The Fernando Vina, the second baseman, was like he played probably 99 to 04-ish. And he won. I could not tell you
the last person we had at second base before Skip.
Like immediately?
Off the top of my head, I have no idea. Like I can't even Skip, Matt Carpenter, Wong, and now Edman are like the last ones I can think of. And Skip, I love Skip. Skip was one of my favorite Cardinals ever, just because he always did whatever you needed.
Yes.
Guys like him and Descalso. I guess Descalso probably played some second back in the day too.
There was a lot of that movement of those the Memphis Mafia guys.
But 2011, we won the World Series. Skip was there.
Mm-hmm.
Skip was there. And Skip was good. He wasn't like flashy, he wasn't way above average, but I would say he was probably average at second base for sure.
I would say he was above average at second. Defensively,
you think so?
Yeah.
I haven't looked. I'd have to go look.
I would say in the outfield he was probably average to below average comparatively.
Yeah.
I think he was a better middle infielder than he would be outfielder.
For sure.
But I was a big Skip fan. And he had Eckstein obviously on the shortstop side, but
yeah, man, I'm forgetting about Eckstein. He was great.
But so like I always have I'm 5'9", not a big guy, and I always think about when I met Eckstein, I told him the same thing. Like those are the type of guys. Fernando Vina, I was a big fan of Fernando Vina when I was 12 years old. Whenever he was playing, because it's like the only sport that you can play, and you're that size, and you give all these kids and all these guys all the opportunity to be able to be that good at that size and be able to be, Eckstein is a World Series MVP,
right?
And these guys that are super utility guys that you have to have these types of guys to win World Series. And that's what Skip Schumacher was. And that's what Daniel Descalso was and all those guys. And so I think Tommy kind of fits that mold as well, but he's better than all of them. If you think about all that, Tommy's better than all those guys.
Defensively.
Yeah, and at bats too, though.
If Tommy starts doing what Eckstein, did in the playoffs.
But you're talking about flashes in the pan of really good. That's why David Eckstein and that's why David Freese aren't in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. It happened in a small window.
So Freese is gonna be.
No, they're not. I don't even think they have enough time to be eligible for the Cardinals Hall of Fame, because it was this small of a window.
I don't know, man.
I don't
know how you don't.
I understand that, but I'm saying based on the parameters.
You don't think Freese is gonna get a red jacket?
I don't think so. Because
man, this is we could do a whole episode
my point,
on this.
My point is Tommy Edman hits better than all those guys that I mentioned And the way that he's playing now is really difficult to move him from second base, but I'm all for it.
But you know what's great about even if you move him to shortstop?
He's still a damn good defender no matter what.
Yes, and you know what else? The bat that's so great right now, he still gets to hit.
Absolutely.
And we potentially get a bat in Gorman who can actually hit.
Right.
Because, we joked about Juan Yepez, 2 bloop sink,
Yeah.
put 2 bloop double. At least he freaking put the bat on the ball.
And the other to wrap it up, I mean, as much as possible, but Gorman also is striking out at 40% plus.
Yes, you don't want to see that. That's too high.
But he's still doing better, obviously at AAA than our other options.
You can live, and I've said this with Tyler O'Neill, you can live with 30, 35% strikeout, percentage. You don't want it, but you can live with it when a guy's cashing in, when the guy is making such hard contact like that, hitting home runs,
and O'Neill,
driving in runs.
O'Neill
like
has gotten much better. Bader has gotten better. Tommy has gotten better. They've all improved on the strikeout level, and because I hate when Paul DeYoung comes to the plate and he's just going to strike out. That's what's going to happen to Gorman more than likely when he comes into the bigs, is that he's going to have that stretch where he's striking out 45 to 50% of the time. But if it comes with some big pop, then it doesn't really matter.
Or he's still driving in runs. Like as bad as O'Neill has been, or at least power-wise that we've thought, he's got 19 RBIs.
Right.
It's not awful in 24 games.
And he only has 2
or
home
27
runs.
games. Yeah, only 2 home runs, but he's still driving in runs.
And one of those home runs was game 1.
Yes.
Game 1.
Which was his best game.
Yes.
5 RBIs and a home run. But he is still driving in runs, which is good to see. So I think I told you his problem, and that's the pull percentage, the ground ball percentage is way up for him. He's got a career low in strikeout percentage right now. So he's putting good at bats together. The biggest thing I've noticed with him too is he's missing those hangers, those hanging breaking balls or those fastballs right there. He's just missing those that were just crushed last year. So I think he's going to get it together. But overall, not a bad start to the season. We got the Orioles and the Giants again this week. I think the series I'm most looking forward to, but probably before we talk again, is that 3 or 4 games at the Mets next week. That should be pretty entertaining, given how that last game of that series went.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule, and like you said, it's the Orioles for 3 at home, the Giants for 3 at home, then go to Mets, go to Pittsburgh. I don't see another day off for a long time.
Yeah.
It looks like the 25th. Today is the 9th. So, as we record this. So, this is a long stretch. You have 3, 3, 4, 3, and then 2 games with the Blue Jays at home.
And we have lost just one series so far? The Mets, right? That's the only series we've lost.
I was going to ask if was that a 4-game or a 3-game?
It was a 3-game. We should have won it.
Yes.
Because we blew.
We blew the one.
They took Scherzer out, and we went up 2-0 and then blew it.
We've either split or won all the other series besides that one.
You can live with that.
That's a
especially
playoff
with
team.
Especially with Jack out.
If you're
winning, live with that.
If you're splitting or winning every series, you're in the playoffs.
And think about, that's with mainly Nolan being the only one doing anything. Nolan and Tommy.
Right.
Now, Goldschmidt's really picked it up the last couple of weeks. The homers haven't been there yet.
He was batting 500 for a week. That really jumped. His batting average now is
it's
over,
almost 290.
Yeah. He's catching up like he does in May.
But again, think about, like we said, O'Neill gets going.
Yes.
Carlson gets going. Bader still has looked much improved at the plate at times. Bader, by the way, did you know he leads the National League in stolen bases?
Tied with Tommy, though.
Yeah, Tommy stolen the other day. Yeah, they're both at 6, I think.
Yeah, they're tied.
That's great to see. That's
great to see. I love the running Cardinals. I love old school baseball. I love hitting and running. I love stealing and moving the runners over. And that one game where we had 15 singles and we won the game and we scored 8 runs.
We didn't hit one home run that game.
We had all singles, 15 of them, and they still won the game because it was running from first to third. It was stealing bases. It was sack flies. I think the first 3 runs were sack flies. Like, that is baseball. Like, you've got to find a way to win.
Get the runs
and they did exactly that. So you got to be able to win in multiple ways. But I don't think we'll talk for a while. I don't know, maybe a day game. We do an evening show or something.
Yeah.
Like maybe the 19th is a nooner to end the Mets series. Maybe we talk after that. So which is still 10 days from now. So maybe we come back in 10 days
after Scherzer's torn us up again.
Yeah. So maybe in 10 days we'll come back. We'll break down the win streak of the Cardinals. Baltimore, Giants, Mets. I mean, Baltimore, Giants, and Mets. So that's the next 3 series before we probably talk again. You want to talk about those at all? I mean, that's tough. How many?
I know
games?
nothing about Baltimore other than they're bad. So hopefully
they're bad.
It'd be great if that was the first sweep of the season.
Yes. So that's 10 games. 10
the
games.
Giants did not scare me.
We have the same record right now.
Yeah,
as the Giants.
I mean, their pitching does not look as good as it was last year.
No,
their rotation for sure, because they lost. What was it? Gosman was their big guy that they lost, and he has been really good. You talk about it, probably one of the few like big free agent pitcher signings that has like paid off. I think the Blue Jays got him.
Yeah,
right. He's looked really good.
He has, and we talked about hopefully getting him. So let's say 10 games. What will be the record in this 10 games? So 3 Baltimore, 3 San Fran, 4 the Mets. We're 5-5 in the last 10. This is the next 10 game run.
Probably 6-4. I'm gonna say two of the 3 from Baltimore.
I was gonna ask, are you thinking Waino starts Tuesday with that, or does it not matter?
Oh, is he slated to start tomorrow? Or are you talking next Tuesday?
No, sorry, Tuesday or Wednesday. He's supposed to start Tuesday or Wednesday because
I haven't heard anything else on him.
I think it's tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow's when he's supposed to. And so Tuesday the 10th, he's supposed to start. So that would be most people listening to this will be today. And we haven't heard about his COVID results. He has to have 2 negative tests. So when you're talking about a 6,
but even if he doesn't start
you
the
still
Orioles
feel confident
series,
in that.
they should still win 2 or 3. So I would say 2 or 3 from the Orioles, 2 or 3 from the Giants, and probably another split with the Mets is my guess.
I think that's fair because that's on brand.
Could be 7-3 if we sweep the Orioles.
I'm gonna go 7-3. That's what I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna sit.
You think the Orioles will be the first sweep of the season?
Yes, Cardinals will sweep the Orioles for the first sweep of the season, 10th, 11th, 12th. So that will be that, and then I agree with a split in New York. That's where I'm sitting with it.
Cool.
7-3 for the next 10, which would be an improvement from the last 10 of 5-5.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, no real complaints. Too bad at this point.
No.
I think, especially, you're more than treading water.
Yes,
with Jack out.
I think you're
which is big. You want to see that, and the offense hasn't fully clicked yet.
It's keeping Milwaukee in arm's length, and the rest of the division behind you, which is easy to do at the moment. You got to win those division games against the other 3, and you just got to keep up with Milwaukee.
Well, yeah, I think the big series after that Mets one is another 4 against Milwaukee, isn't it? At Milwaukee?
It's Pittsburgh after Mets.
Milwaukee's coming up soon this month.
May 26th is a 4-game set with the Brewers in St. Louis.
Oh, that's right. They haven't come to St. Louis yet.
Yeah. Yes. So
that's going to be big.
Oh, is that Memorial Day weekend?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm going.
Nice.
We're gonna go because we're gonna do the Waino signing.
Oh, that's right.
One of those days, there's a Waino signing for charity.
I'm going to be in Arkansas for Memorial Weekend, but it's not far from St. Louis. So
yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining That's a Winner podcast. I'm Ryan Jenkins. It's Josh Brown. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow us also. That's a Winner Pod at That's a Winner Pod. You can get us anywhere. And I want to follow up and say that Nolan Arenado is going to win MVP.
Thank God for him this first month.
Buster Posey is still not going to be a Hall of Famer. And
Yachty will be first ballot.
And yeah, we had a poll on that, and 92% of the vote said he was a Hall of Famer, just like his ballot will say the first time around.
Oh, well, yeah.
92%.
You got to be a hater to say he's not a Hall of Famer at all.
There were 8%, so that was probably like a couple votes.
Some stray Cubs fans.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow us everywhere, and we'll get with you probably about 10 days. Thanks for listening and watching.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2, and a home run by the Wizard.